Okay, so I'm doing this video because there's been a lot of comments about the new raids coming up, and I was actually looking forward to some commentary on it, and I haven't really received anything that was, kind of satisfying. I just won't say that directly, but so I'm doing this right now, and I want to be fair about it because there are two sides to the coin. Everybody, excuse me, everybody has a different opinion on it. So what I did was, and I lean heavily towards one side. So what I did was I went to Reddit and I saw a bunch of different comments. Basically, I put up a post. If you don't know, I'm the guy who posted, you gotta be effing kidding me. So you're trying to force me to waste resources on characters for an event that has not proven to be successful yet. That was my view. However, to be fair, on the other side, there was someone else that posted. It was his or her name is Redwind38, and they put, "Yep, I said it. People here cry so much. Now the problem is that Raz is a 5x character in raids, and people don't want to invest in him. They put on him, but in him. Then don't do it." Fair point. So what I did was I got some comments, and I'm going to try to address both sides of it, try to be fair, even though I have one opinion one way. Everyone else's opinion is valid as well, and they do bring up some good points. So I want to just go through both those points and give both sides of it. Okay, so first I'm going to try to put in the side of the argument that I don't necessarily agree with. It is a valid point, but since I don't agree with it, I'm going to try to present it as best as I possibly can, and even reserve some of the replies so that their points fully get made. So Blackishadam on the post that I put up put participation is voluntary. And I'm going to go down and skip some of the comments because of course there were comments that were against his point of view, but I'm going to go down to the next post, his next comment, which is a very, very valid point. If I had a vested interest in the game, which I do not, then perhaps he's replying to someone who says that you are being forced to do it, or that you have to do it in order to participate. But the OP, meaning me, original poster, used the word forced in reference to playing. Is that really the case? I think not. Now, his point is fair. I'm not being forced to dump resources into Raz or to Talia or to whatever character that I don't think is worthy. That is a voluntary action. I can by all means still participate in the raid with characters that aren't going to be as powerful because they won't have the multipliers. And I can probably still get pretty high because I am a 70-11 player, just to be clear. I call myself mostly free to play because I don't invest a lot of money into it. You're talking like, $5, $10 here. So that is a fair point. I'm not being forced to do anything. I can, by all means, just invest what I want to invest in each of the characters and attack the raids that way to the best of my ability and not feel like, or not actually put in resources that I don't want to put in. I'm not being forced to do it. I'm going to go on to another point that is actually anti my point. Okay, I was going to try to go to the next point that was anti my point, but the guy brought up a good point. His name is Extreme Machine 1. He brought up the point of a well said above, and basically what he's saying is well said that people love to complain. And then I go on a diatribe basically about what is really bothering me about the game. And it's a long, long ass thing that I wrote, but I was trying to clearly explain where I was coming from. And then his reply is basically, which is a good reply, he said, "You don't like to complain, but you write a 6-paragraph post complaining more about it, LOL. Alrighty, fair point. Yeah, I am complaining. I'm complaining a lot. And I have a tendency to be dramatic, so it's fair there. And I'm gonna keep reading what he says. He continues to say, "The Raz and Talia multiplier thing, that doesn't bother me at all. I might use a multiplier character when I raid, but for the most part, I use Atrocitus as the team lead and the opposite affinity of whatever the boss is. It usually does way more damage than the multipliers anyway." That's a very good point. That's a very good thing that you can do to get around the multipliers, and he may be right. Oftentimes that will do more than the multipliers. However, my argument would just be, imagine how much more damage if you had Atrocitus and the multipliers. But that is a very, very fair point. I don't feel like this is a huge middle finger to the player base. You don't have to level these characters up. You don't have to, and he's putting have in like, he's emphasizing it. He's putting in capitals. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to participate. The game isn't forcing anyone to do anything. Just so you know, I don't think raids are great either. They're very repetitive and aren't very fun to play. But I enjoy the rewards at the end, so to me that makes it feel worth it. Sure, if I spent money or level up the multipliers, I'd get even better rewards, but whatever, I'm happy getting what I get. They're not screwing me out of anything. They're not forcing me to do anything I don't want. They're not screwing me out of anything I don't want. And to me, the game as a whole is still very enjoyable. Okay, all those points are very fair. He's bringing up very, very fair points. And like I said, I have a tendency to be dramatic. And what he's saying is that I don't have to invest the resources. Money-wise, I'm not dropping 300 bucks on this crap, so I'm not gonna address the money point, but it is also a fair point. You don't have to put in a bunch of money if you don't want to. You don't have to put in the resources if you don't want to. It is all voluntary. So it is a free-to-play game if you want it to be free to play. So all fair points. I see exactly where they're coming from. I just happen to disagree. And so now I'm going to go on the other side. Okay, coming from the other side, I'm just gonna say my point first. And when I was thinking about it, I thought about it in the terms of basketball. I love playing basketball, right? But I know that I will never ever, or will have never ever been an NBA player. I'm not up to that level. I'm not that great. However, when I go play pickup basketball, I like to play with people who are very, very competitive and who are trying to win, and like I love the competition. So I want to compete at the highest level possible for me. That's kind of how I see DC Legends. I'm not one of the guys who's going to spend $1,000 a month on a mobile game. Sorry, just not going to do it. However, I want to compete at the highest level that I possibly can when I'm playing the game. But just like in pickup basketball, I can't play, or I don't like playing with people who are just playing it for fun. There's nothing wrong with just playing it for fun. Enjoy yourself, get some exercise, run around. But that frustrates me because they're not really being competitive. Like half the time they don't even keep the score, they're just running back and forth. Which if that's what they enjoy, good, do you. Me, I want it to be more competitive. So when it comes to the game, I want it to be on whatever level I am, I want to be as competitive as possible. And what I felt was that by giving us the characters Roz and Talia on such short notice, and one of them being not a great character, then the level that I want to compete at, they're actually putting a paywall in front of it. And so then when they do that kind of paywall, a lot of my alliance mates, a lot of my friends in the alliance are already saying like they don't want to participate in it, don't want to participate at all, which then brings the level of competition down even more. So now I can't compete even more on that level. And then I can't contribute to my alliance as much as I want to. And so that is just extremely frustrating to me. Again, I'm not being forced to do anything. I don't have to do it, but that is incredibly frustrating to me. So that was my entire point behind that post. I will now try to go to some other comments that were more on my side. Okay, so BrutusMcBash, I'm assuming that's a guy, wrote in reply to my original post, this was my first thought. Almost all of those characters aren't worth leveling up, and now I've got to get them leveled up as far as possible for an event that hasn't had a single successful outing, and then never use them again. So I get the feeling that he's similar to me. He wants to try to compete at the highest level possible for raids. And he feels like he won't be able to simply because the multipliers are these characters that are either going to be level them up one time and not use them again, or you won't really have a true opportunity to level them up. Now, Pochono, I don't know, in reply to that post put, it's a bad list, no doubt, but do you really need to level up multiple characters? I usually just have one of the 5X tunes ready, and that's good enough. I think Reverse Flash would be just fine this time around. Okay, so that's more of an even keel thought, more of an even keel process, or more of an even keel reply, which is just saying, look, you don't have to do it. Yeah, it's a bad list, but you're not being forced into doing it. Okay, so now back to the comment that Blackishadam wrote, which was participation is voluntary. The reply from Nanjiemb, I hope, if I'm saying your names wrong, I'm sorry, I'm trying here. His reply to it was, Blackishadam put participation is voluntary, and then he replied, only up to a point. with how costly resources are in the game, you have to really lower your standards sometimes or be left behind. Hope they make Roz the big reward. That would just add some icing on this. Hopefully being sarcastic. But yeah, at a certain point, raids you do have to participate in if you want to get some resources. So I do see his point there. That wasn't really my argument. I love the raid rewards at the end. The rewards during the event aren't fantastic, but I'm not really complaining about that. Those rewards are valuable to like first-time players, the guys who've just jumped in the game. So they do have some value, but I wish they would be bigger. Those would be even better for the guys beginning in the game. But yeah, guys and gals. But yeah, I do see his point there. Then Dejota. His reply to participation is voluntary is, this is always a bad argument in gaming. First, optional only so far as not participating doesn't detract from the rest of the game. If not participating hurts your experience outside of mode, then it's not really optional, is it? Second, if the reason for not wanting to participate is valid, concerns for bugs, cheating, or bad experience, then that's on the developers/programmers, not the player. And in the context of this game and this mode, all three are valid. Lastly, it's rare that a gaming company has been right retrospective to the gamer and context. Your default should never be on the side of the gaming company. This is a default and basic ass take. It's basically the same as saying poor people are poor because they suck at life. Sounds good and gets a from, oh, that's a symbol, I don't know, pointing up, from morons, but it fails to hold up to any logic or scrutiny. Okay. He's on my side. I don't agree with everything he's saying in there. It's a little bit extreme, but it is true that participation is optional, but up to a point. I actually really love this game mode. I know it's basic. It doesn't require much strategy. You know, you're more about composing teams and everything and then trying to go at it. But I do like this game mode. And my fear with them putting up this kind of soft paywall is that they're going to discourage players from doing it, and then that game mode is going to die. And I've been playing this game for 2 years, and there aren't too many game modes. I mean, I do red alerts, I do PvP, Wraith PvP, and all that other stuff, but that's just getting kind of repetitive. Raids is something at least different for me to do, and I can see a lot of players saying, okay, well, at least it's something different, something more fun for us to attack. I would go ahead and complain about new content, but that has been done to death, so I won't even touch that. But I do want to participate in this game mode. So participation is voluntary, but I want to play. So if I want to play, but you say participation is voluntary, the entire game is voluntary. So I do want this. I do want to participate in this game mode. I do want to play in it. I do also agree with never be on the side of the company. It's kind of like being on the side of the boss, a little bit brown nosy. However, he does take it a bit too far, where he's saying poor people are poor because they suck at life. Okay, that's a bit extreme. I'm not going to go all the way down that road. However, I will give the developers and the programmers credit for this. People feel like they're not being listened to, but as I look through the game and things that have changed, I do feel like that they are listening to a lot of the complaints that are coming out, and I try to give them credit for that. But then I also understand that this is still a business and they still have to prove that they're making money in some way, shape, or form. So they have to dance across a very, very thin line of making sure the free-to-play players are happy, who will keep the game being downloaded, which are good numbers that bosses want to see how many downloads they have. They want to add content and also make in-purchase items, in-app purchases, so that way they can show that the game is also making money, and they don't want to upset both sides of it. They don't want to upset the company, they don't want to upset the gamer, so they're on a delicate balance here. Their bosses want to see that the game's making money, or why else would the bosses keep investing in the game? However, we don't want to feel like we're being price gouged out of it. So to say that you should never be on the side of the gamers, why does that have to be one against the other? Why can't it be cooperative? And complaining about it, some people have a problem with it, some people don't. We can agree to disagree on it. But to say that you have a complaint and the answer is, well, participation is voluntary, kind of just dismisses that this complaint could be valid and it's something that could be maybe easily rectified in the future. So, for example, one of the things I said was that, okay, if you want Roz to be a 5X or Talia to be a 5X, that's fine, but having them both there is just kind of discouraging to the players. That's it. So I will say I am still on the side of where I was saying before. I do still have those complaints. Maybe I was a bit dramatic when I first came out. Maybe it's not a gigantic middle finger. Maybe it's just a misstep. Maybe they're trying and it just came off the wrong way. But yeah, that's my view on it. Tell me what you think.